3 musts of protein molecules. Now, the probability of the amino acids being in the right sequence, they calculated this. It is 1 chance in 10 over 650. The second calculation, the probability of the amino acids being left-handed, this is 1 chance in 10 over 150. The third one, the probability of the amino acids being combined with a peptide bond, this is 1 chance in 10 over 150. So if you multiply these, the total probability of one single protein with 500 amino acids to come into being by coincidences, as the theory of evolution claims, is 1 chance in 10 over 950. This is an unimaginable, inconceivable number with 950 zeros next to number 1. As you know, 12 zeros make trillion. We're talking about 950 zeros next to number 1. So basically this number doesn't have a name. It is an unimaginable, inconceivable number. Basically, anything in mathematics and statistics which is smaller than 1 chance in 10 over 50, we're talking about 1 chance in 10 over 950. Anything smaller than 1 chance in 10 over 50 is accepted as impossible. So basically this is impossible times impossible. And there are more than that. The time of the universe, starting from the Big Bang, is estimated to be 10 over 17 seconds. So these reactions, 10 over 950 reactions, far exceeds the time of the universe starting from the Big Bang. The entire number of the electrons and atoms in the entire universe, entire number of the galaxies and stars, is estimated to be 10 over 79. We're talking about 10 over 950 molecules over here. So basically, one single protein to come into being by coincidences, as the theory of evolution claims, is impossible. So that shows us the whole theory of evolution, Darwinism, collapses at the level of one single protein. If we show that one single protein to come into being by coincidence is impossible, basically we invalidate the whole theory of evolution. Because if you show any of the intermediate stages of the theory of evolution to be invalid, you invalidate the whole theory of evolution. Again, the whole theory of evolution collapses at the level of one single protein. There is even more deadly stroke to that. These numbers, to be valid, these astronomical numbers, there has to be a conscious involvement. Something like this over here. Somebody would sit down, a secret hand, would bring the amino acids one by one together, should exactly stop at the 500 amino acid, shouldn't allow any more amino acids to be involved because that makes this protein dysfunctional. Or if you stop before 500, that also makes the protein dysfunctional. And if this is the protein he's not looking for, he should disentangle these amino acids one by one and start all over again. And every time should try a different combination. So basically, this secret hand, should try this 10 over 950 times different combinations in order to find one single protein he's looking for. This is a conscious involvement, right? That only can be done by in a high-tech laboratory and by an intelligence. Or it only could be done in a very controlled environment, such as a cell. Is there any consciousness in the nature? No, there is no consciousness in nature. What is nature? Nature is soil, air, rocks. There is no consciousness in the nature. Is there an error and trial mechanism in the nature? No, there is no error and trial mechanism in the nature. Basically, these reactions would not even start in the nature. That shows us, mathematically and scientifically, one single protein. As I told you before, there are billions of different proteins in the nature. One single protein to come into being by coincidences is impossible. That invalidates whole theory of evolution, and whole theory of evolution collapses at the level of one single protein. Charles Darwin, the founder of the theory of evolution, he gives us the most concrete criteria to falsify his theory. For example, in his book Origin of Species, there are many paragraphs starting, "If my theory be true." In one of these, Charles Darwin says, if it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory would absolutely break down. Charles Darwin says, if it could be shown the complex organ systems in the living beings, such as the eyes, the gills, for example, or the wings of the birds, they could not have been formed gradually, step by step, as the theory of evolution claims, my whole theory would collapse down. He's right. This is exactly what happens. Irreducible complexity. This is a term from modern literature. Modern scientists have shown these complex organ systems, such as the eyes, the gills, or the wings of the birds, could not be reduced to a more basic level. They could not have been formed gradually, step by step. They only function if all the components are intact at the same time in the same place. These are based on the evidences from the modern sciences. For example, our eyes, human eyes, they are very, very complex. Our eyes are better than any camera in the world. For example, you see a human eye over here. It consists of many different components, as you see over here. There are at least 40 different components which make up our eyes. If any of these components is missing, for example, take out the lens, the eye will not function. There will be no seeing. Or the cornea is missing. It will not function. You take out any different part. You take out the eyelids, it will not function. There's no lacrimation glands, it will not function. That shows us all these components has to exist at the same time, in the same place, in the right place, in order for this eye to function. Remember what Charles Darwin said? If it could be shown that these complex systems could not have been formed gradually, step by step, as evolution theory claims, my whole theory of it collapsed down. Basically, this shows us that falsifies the whole theory of evolution. If you go into the molecular biology of seeing, it is even more irreducibly complex. Now, I will explain in a very simplified form. You see a cartoon over here, an illustration. To describe in a very simplified form how complex the molecular biology of seeing is. You don't have to remember any of these names. Just to make you understand how complex the molecular biology of seeing is. You know the light consists of very small particles. They are called photons. We cannot see them with our naked eye. They are so small. And there are like trillions of photons showering our eyes every single moment. If one single photon comes into nerve cells of our eyes, it activates a molecule called rhodopsin. It changes its shape, as you see over here. Photon changes the shape of the molecule called rhodopsin. With this new shape, this molecule can join a second molecule, and these together can join a third one like a domino, and these all together join a fourth molecule, and in that way, all together, decreases the amounts of the salt ions in the cell, and in that way, a signal is generated so we can see. Let's see the animation. You see a photon, single photon comes in, changes the shape of the rhodopsin. In that way, this molecule can join a second molecule, change its shape also, and in that way, they can join a third one, and all together can join in that way a fourth molecule, and in that way, the number of the salt ions are decreased, and in that way, a signal is generated so we can see. Do you know how fast these reactions happen? They happen in picoseconds. A picosecond is a 1/trillionth of a second. Basically, these reactions, they happen almost 1 trillion times in our eyes every single moment. This is an unimaginably complex system. There is no way this system came into being by coincidences, step by step, as the theory of evolution claims. I'll tell you why. For example, if any of these molecules is missing, whole system will fail, although the other components are intact and there. For example, there is no rhodopsin molecule, there is no seeing, the whole system will fail. Or rhodopsin is there, transducin is missing, no seeing. Or they are there, a third molecule is missing, they are there. Or all these molecules are there, just some of the few amino acids of the rhodopsin is being changed, the whole system will fail. This system only functions, as you might understand, if all these components are intact at the same time in the right place. So basically, remember what Charles Darwin said? If it could be shown that these complex organ systems could not have been formed gradually, step by step, as the theory of evolution claims, my whole theory of it collapsed down. This is basically what happens. The modern sciences have shown these complex systems could not have been formed gradually, step by step. And that, of course, invalidates the theory of evolution and proves the fact of creation, because these systems must be created in the past with all these components at the same time in the same place.